I'm Jonathan Mason.
And I am Sonya Madison.
And welcome to Law Unfiltered, where we discuss current events and legal aspects of some of those current events. And Sonya, this is our first time getting together since the holidays, but right before Thanksgiving, an interesting story came down the pike from Minnesota about a woman, a parent, who was suing, claiming that her parental rights were violated because her 17-year-old son, now daughter, had gone through is going through transgender process. And so I wanted to get some of your thoughts on that. But before I get to that, I have to say, the first thing that struck me, and it might seem like a trivial issue, but it's so annoying, is just how the media presents things, because every headline that I saw pretty much said that the mother was suing her own child over, the transgender transition that the child was going through. And then when I read the articles and I read the complaint, it's like, that's not even the main issue.
She is, but it's not the main issue.
I mean, she is suing, but I guess that's part of the process, but that's not the main focus. So who are the main targets that the mother is going after?
Well, in my opinion, based on this complaint, I think the mother, as well as several other people who are batting on their 2 cents, is more concerned about just the process that Minnesota has in terms of relinquishing someone's parental rights as well as emancipation. Because from what I gathered, and you can speak on what you gathered, they're making all these claims that, listen, we have this statute in place that enables a child to make all these representations and doesn't give the parent the process, or at least the due process, or the ability to come in and say, no, listen, we dispute all this and we do not want our parental rights to be relinquished. And so while I do think, they are in fact adding the school district, they're adding the hospital and other individuals that were part of the process.
Legal aid.
Yes, legal aid, part of the process. I think they're still saying they were able to do this because you've put this statute in place, and it's just allowing the child or the minor to make all these representations without giving me the opportunity to come in and be able to keep or retain my rights.
Yeah, but it seems like one thing that I don't know, and that maybe if we dug a little deeper could find out, is exactly what was the nature of the relationship prior to the child moving out from the mother. I know some of the sources described that the child went to live with the father for a while, and that didn't work out, and so the child was living who knows where. And in some of the emancipation documents, it talked about, well, at least from the child represented, that the mother didn't make any attempts to bring him or her home. The child worked 2 jobs to support himself while he was going to high school and taking college courses. So what was going on with the mother? And I know I'm not asking you to answer this, but what was going on with the mother during all this time when the child was living away and working, a 17-year-old working 2 jobs and going to school? That's, in and of itself, that doesn't necessarily create emancipation, but there has to be some statute or process in a state for emancipation of a minor.
Well, there is, and I think that's what they're saying. There is this process, and you didn't even get through the process. Here, it was more than just him making these representations. They were going through the hearing, and even the hearing documents are explicitly saying, well, they didn't have notice, they being the parents, didn't have notice, and they held off even making a ruling, and still hasn't made a ruling, because now that the mother has come out and said, hey, listen, I'm opposing this, I found out about it, then it's held. So I think what at least what I'm gathering from what the attorney is saying, and some of the supporters of her are saying, you have this process in place, and instead of following your own process, you put in a new statute in place to just allow someone to make these representations to get medical services instead of sticking to the process of going through emancipation. But I also think it's important to know, I agree with you, we don't have the facts, but what the complaint does make it, or at least illustrate, is he was gone for 6 months. It wasn't like several years and years of them being...
I thought it said at least 6 months, like that was some threshold requirement of the amount of time that you...
Well, but still the representation says he'd been out of her, peripheral, at least out of the father's house for a period of 6 months. But the mother represents that I've stayed in contact with him. It's not as if, I don't know where he is, or it's not as if I haven't still maintained any contact. I stayed in contact with him, and I've been presuming that if there is anything that I need or anything that is important, like medical services, you're going to notify me, not even if it's you, the kid, but you as the hospital or the school, and let me know so that I can make the appropriate decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, but I just...
And she does have other kids too. I saw she has like 5 other kids. But like you said, not that should matter in terms of whether or not she should be able to just relinquish it based on his representations alone.
Yeah.
But
see, I don't think like something like, and again, I'm not familiar with the statute there or really in our own state as far as emancipation, but it doesn't seem like the amount of time in and of itself. I mean, that's probably a factor, but I don't think, because if a parent kicks a child out of the house, should that child have to wait 6 months before they can be declared, emancipated? So, because one of the benefits of emancipation was being a minor made him eligible for medical services and medical treatments and things like that without having to have the parental consent.
Well, that's what I said.
Or even to have it paid for.
But I want to make sure there's a difference between, he was not emancipated. Like, I think that's important. Like, he was not emancipated. And so there's two statutes that we're talking about here. We're talking about the one where there is this process of emancipation that he didn't get. And then there's another statute that says if you're just apart from your parent or your guardian, and it doesn't specify for how long, it just says separated, then you can get medical services without consent.
Yeah, but in this case, legal aid did issue a letter, which I don't know what that's really worth. It's not. A judge. It's not a court order per se, but
and it's one-sided, and that's where I guess I'm kind of falling more so I can see her point. It's a kid can make several representations, and if you're just going to go off one person's word, do you really have the full story or the full truth of what's happening here?
I understand that, but I just feel like there had to be. It seems like there's some responsibility with the parent. I mean, again, without knowing all the facts, but just looking at it, it seems like the parent would have an opportunity to be more involved with the child. Or why did I don't even know. Like, again, we don't know a lot. Like, why did the child leave in the first instance? And I'm not sure how old. By the way, the child will be 18 in July of next year, so about 6 or 7 more months, the child will be truly emancipated without any issue. But and then another part of this too is the school system was also brought into the lawsuit for not sharing the child's school records with the mother. So
well, and I think another part of this is, of course, you have a lot of the LGBT and some of their supporters saying, well, you have a parent here who is opposed to her child transitioning, and if you do not enable minors or children who some would argue know as young as 2 or at least by 12 that they want to transition to another gender or they identify with another gender, if you demand that you have to have parental consent, then you're harming the child. And and this is probably very murky, and I know I'll probably get in some trouble for this, but I do think that it really should still be on the parents to make that type of decision. I was reading an article where they interviewed Ruby Rose, who was an actress on Orange is the New Black, and she said that she saved money when she turned 15 to transition or to pay for the surgery to transition, but she was so happy she didn't do it because she was really more so wanting to have control over just how she looked and not necessarily, as she got older, realized I didn't need to change my sexual organs to do that. Now, I'm not saying that kids, may or may not change their mind, and I've read studies where more likely than not they probably won't change their mind. But I am saying you can't, on the one hand, like you're saying, say it's a responsibility for parents to really provide and nurture and do whatever rearing that they're going to do for the children. Then on the other hand, say that at age 2 or at age 12, a kid knows that they should be able to change their sexual organs or make these huge medical procedures without parental consent.
Yeah, but we're not talking about a 2 or a 5-year-old here. But I don't think the parent. We are talking about a minor, but
and you have to have some age. And the law is clear. The minor is, someone under 18.
I understand that, but I don't think it should be a parent's decision. But I do think that the child should have to undergo. I don't think a child being a minor. When I say a child, I mean a minor should be able to go and just say, I want to transition, and here's how it's going to get paid for, without counseling and something in that process, rather than that. Like I said, counseling is the main thing, or some sort of, whether it's emotional counseling, counseling on the medical side on what's going to happen. I would imagine those things did take place. But,
and they did take place in this case. I want to make sure that's clear.
But at the same time, I don't know. I guess it's all, there needs to be some process in place, but at the same time, it all, just like a lot of situations, is a case-by-case basis, because, the involvement of the parents. I can imagine parents who a child like this leaves, and the parents do everything they can to get the child to come back home, to support the child financially, to get the child counseling or what have you like that. And I would put that parent in a different position than a parent who isn't as involved, or doesn't try to work with the child or get the child back or get the child help or financially or what have you. So I don't know.
I guess to Minnesota's credit, because again, they do have the emancipation process in place, and most states do. So to what you're saying, at least what I would respond to what you're saying is there is a process for a minor to go through to get emancipated and then make those decisions on their own. But as long as you are not emancipated and your parent has these rights, some of those rights should be the rights to make those type of decisions for their child.
I think the other problem here is that the transition has already taken place. So what is, I know there's more treatment.
The kid was getting hormones.
Right, there's still more treatment, but it's so far along now that what do you really
it's now, but that's still harming that they didn't consult with her, at least notify her so that she can have the consent, first. And I think that's why I say I think this complaint really more is about, should this be the precedent? We need to attack the law, we need to attack the statutes, and I think it is about really trying to get at the schools and all the medical hospitals and other people that were involved, because again, they follow the statute. But I think that she's just really attacking the statutes here.
Yeah, well, as of the last time I checked, I didn't see that any response had been filed to the lawsuit. But just like you said, the information that was presented to legal aid and other organizations was one-sided. The complaint is also one-sided. So right. I'm sure when the answer is filed, there'll probably be more facts included in response that'll explain the situation and kind of try to justify why this minor should have been able to make those decisions based on the relationship or lack of one with the parent.
Or why the statute is constitutional, because I think that's really the main issue. I think they're really arguing that the statute of enabling a child who's just simply separated from their guardian without even a specified period of time, but just for a period of time, to be able to get medical services without consent. I think they're going to try to determine that statute is unconstitutional, and because it denies parents, the opportunity for due process. So I think that's going to be, at least what I'm looking for, to see if they get what they want in terms of the constitutionality.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how it turns out. So when you first pointed it out to me, I thought it was a interesting topic and kind of different. See this lawsuit every day. But I'm sure at the same time, this issue arises all the time, even if it's not something as major as gender transition, but just, everyday or regular medical treatment. Or, she mentioned the child's being treated with given narcotics without the parents' permission. So it doesn't have to be something as major as a gender transition, because there are probably thousands of other people who have experienced similar issues. So we'll see what happens. But all right.
Well, thanks for agreeing to talk about it,
Right.
and let us know what you guys think. See you next time on Law Unfiltered.